In my last video, I talked about my challenges with bipolar disorder and how I have overcome my mental illness. If you haven't seen that video, the link is in the description section of this video. And in today's video, I'm going to address what I think is the biggest misconception when it comes to depression and suicide. So when I was deeply suicidal, the one question that people asked me the most was, why would you want to kill yourself for somebody that you dated for only 4 weeks? And they tried to talk me out of my depression by saying things like, oh, get over it. This girl was dumped after 7 years and she got over it. Therefore, it's not a big deal for you. Like, how could you do that? It's so stupid. It seems like after somebody just committed suicide, people want to know why. It seems like there has to be a reason for them to kill themselves, and sometimes the reason has to be huge in order to be understandable. Well, this is a big misconception. I'm pretty sure some of you have been depressed before, but would you say that your depression was caused by situational factors? And once the external problem has been dealt with, and you started to recover spontaneously. In such case, depression is a mental state. It's temporary. It's relatively easy to treat. Depression of such nature is like a common cold, and our body is able to recover from it by itself. Whereas depression with a strong genetic predisposition, like the one that I had, it's a mental illness. It's a permanent condition and it cannot be cured in most cases, and it can only be treated and manageable under medical intervention. In my case, taking medication on a daily basis. So there are two types of depression. One is caused by external factors, environmental factors, stressors in a person's life. And the other type of depression is a medical condition. It has a name, people are born with it. And it's something that is, in many cases, they don't need to have a reason to become depressed. Any differences between the two types of depression? First, when it comes to trigger of depression. For common depression, people usually have a good reason to be depressed, such as the death of a loved one, bankruptcy, or something really traumatic happening. Whereas for depression as a mental illness, people do not need to have a reason to commit suicide or even homicide. Many of us feel depressed throughout most of our lives. Some people will start to experience clinical symptoms simply because they do not have a healthy lifestyle. They smoke, drink, and do drugs excessively. They lack sleep on a regular basis and party all the time. If there is a genetic predisposition, their depression will be easily triggered when a trivial obstacle comes their way. When it comes to the severity of symptoms, for common depression, the symptoms are emotional in nature. It has to do with people's feeling, being hurt. People want to die, but they have a choice. They could choose to end their life or carry on living. That was the case in my second episode of depression. The reason of my depression was mainly about my physical disability. Though the symptoms were severe, I still had control over them, and thankfully I did not hurt myself again. Whereas for depression as a disorder, the symptoms are much more physical and medical in nature. The symptoms are impossible to be conquered by willpowers. During my first episode of depression, when I wasn't medicated, I didn't just want to die, I needed to die. My body was shutting down after not being able to sleep at all for over 2 months. When it comes to family history, a depression disorder usually has a family history of mental illness, any type of mental illness. In my case, everyone on my father's side is perfectly healthy. They are happy and optimistic people. The reason that I might have inherited a bad gene is probably because my maternal grandma suffers from anxiety disorder. Her thoughts are always irrational and she doesn't sleep very much. But however, she doesn't have a serious mental illness like mine. When it comes to age of onset, common depression really depends on the onset of a stressor. But for mental illness, The typical age of onset of a full-blown episode is between 18 to 24 years old, the ages when hormones are going viral. Though more and more kids as young as 8 or 9 years old have reported of being suicidal. When I look back, I could definitely identify early signs of mental illness even when I was a kid. Depression is also prevalent among women who have just given birth or during menopause. It always happens when our body is going through changes, when our physical health has declined. Mental health is part of a person's overall health. When the rest of our body is healthy, we sleep well, eat well, and do exercise, our mental health will also improve. When it comes to treatment, to treat a common depression, a person might be temporarily placed on antidepressant or receive psychotherapy or counseling. For some people, time is the best remedy. Whereas in my case, I personally think that medication is the only effective treatment for mental illness. Because it is a medical condition, it is not a psychological condition. It's like someone who is born with type 1 diabetes and they have to rely on insulin for the rest of their life. For people like me, we are born with a deficit and therefore we need to rely on psychotropic medication to restore our mental health. So, in conclusion, it's wrong to judge a person's severity of depression based on what happened to them. Rather, the severity of their symptoms are dependent on whether or not they have a mental illness, whether or not they have a genetic predisposition to mental illness. When someone is depressed and suicide, it's useless to talk them out of their depression because the reason or trigger of their depression is not the solution. Rather, targeting on treating their symptoms, physiological symptoms, by giving them administrating medication is usually the first step in recovery. So I hope this video will be helpful to you, and if you can think of someone that can benefit from this video, please share with them. And in my future videos, I will continue to share my insights and my knowledge based on my personal experience. And thank you. Have a great day. Bye.